Oh man, and like I said, it's been an interesting year. In more unfortunate tales of my world, I went out. I'm dating this girl, and went out. Had dinner last night with her, and her youngest son was there. He wanted to ride the motorcycle, right? So I put him on the front, and he held on the handlebars. We ran out of the parking lot. I didn't see the need to put on my helmet. I left my helmet attached there, and you know what happened? It got stuck down there. So now my helmet is ruined. You got right there. Probably still wear it, but you really don't want to take chances on helmets. It's about a $400 helmet, and $350, something like that. Now the visor took most of it, and I could just get another visor, but guess what? This particular brand, it's called Sedici. There's zero availability on any visor for this helmet at all, anywhere. Cannot find one. So, that sucks. Just a word to the wise, if you guys are gonna buy a motorcycle helmet, buy like a really well-known one, like a Bell, HJC or something like that, because there's a million parts out there and every motorcycle shop has replacement parts. You buy a little less known, less popular brand like Sedici, you're not gonna find any parts. And the thing that really sucks about that is I'm down to two vehicles, the motorcycle and a service truck. I like the service truck, and if this thing got awesome fuel mileage, I would drive it everywhere. But it does not. SV10 starts every time, but it drinks fuel. And I mean drinks fuel. My average, I think, is right around 8 miles per gallon. Of course, the motorcycle averages around 38, 40, depending on how I ride. So I tend to take the motorcycle everywhere that I can, because it's much cheaper. But until I get another helmet, I'm gonna be SOL. Well, today's project, I'm gonna run down to Glen Rose to a buddy of mine's house and work on his short bus. He bought the short bus several years ago, probably, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I'm not sure how long it sat there. But he bought it a mile down the road, and the rear brakes were locked up in it. And they drove it 1 mile to get it home, parked it, and it's sat there ever since. So he wants me to come out. He knows it's probably gonna need drums, gonna need brake shoes, I'm sure, in the back, hardware kits, and just go through it, make sure all the brakes are right. Also, while I'm there, he wants to go ahead and do the fuel filters, the oil filter, the oil change, transmission filter, fluid, basically get all the maintenances caught up on it, because he's planning on converting this bus into a kind of a mobile camper, tiny home deal for his daughter, and he wants it as reliable as possible. So we're gonna run down there, go through it, and it'll be a first start on this thing in, I think, 6, 7 years. And there it is. GMC 6.5 diesel. Don't really know what year model it is. Looks like a 90s, mid 90s, something like that. Maybe possibly late 80s. I'll go check the door, find out. Let's pop the hood open. We're gonna check the battery. It's probably gonna be dead, but they got a battery sitting inside of it that should be good. So I'm gonna get my old voltage meter, Pixie Finder, and figure out the battery's gonna be good. Neat little bus. I looked it up on the VIN number. The 10th character is an S, meaning it's a 1995, I think. 596, I believe 1995. I have to look that up. But here's the battery. See if I can do this one-handed. I got 11.8. Not bad. It's a little low, but it'll probably work. It goes right in there. Got side terminals. Looks like our positive cables. Go there and there. All right, they've got 2 negatives. Interesting setup. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work. We'll get it figured out. I'm going to grab a wire brush and clean up these terminals. They got a little corrosion on them. Make sure we got good connection, and then throw the battery in. Now, anytime you come to a vehicle or any kind of piece of equipment that's been sitting for a while, and it's just good practice to anything that you come up with, even if it just was running all day long, and they tell you, oh, well, just come out and you do the AC and you need to start it up. Stop what you're doing, check the oil, check the coolant, check the transmission fluid, just give it a once over, check all the fluids, see if there's any like detrimental anything, especially when you're working for yourself, because when you open the hood and you check all these fluid levels, if it's low on oil, you can tell the owner, hey, you know, it's about a gallon low on oil, several quarts low on oil, it's leaking here, and that creates more work for yourself. If you're the type of mechanic that the customer just calls you and says, hey, yeah, the AC won't work and the left blinker's out. Okay, you come up and you only fix the AC, you only fix the blinker. You're leaving a ton of money and opportunity on the table. If you're working for yourself, you've got to find that work. That's one of the reasons when I was younger as a mechanic, I hated doing PMs, preventive maintenances. I hated doing oil changes and things and didn't really understand the concept of it. But you can make a tremendous amount of money doing oil changes by finding more work, more suggestive selling. Whenever you do oil changes and services on something, you get a very good in-depth view of every single component and system of the vehicle or equipment, and you can tell the owner. Now, the advantage of that is especially heavy equipment. I cannot stress this enough. The owners rarely even operate their own equipment. They don't know where it's at, they haven't seen it in years, and they don't know the general condition. And unfortunately, a lot of equipment operators, when they hop in stuff, they don't do anything at all. They just make sure the air conditioning works, they make sure the cab is sealed and the radio works, and they hit the road. They don't grease stuff. Now, there are some really good operators out there that do, but in general, they don't. So the owner calls you up and says, hey, we got this problem with this machine. It doesn't start. Can you come take a look at it? So you come up. Yep. I figured out here it does, needs a battery, needs a starter, needs a whatever. By the way, you've got a cylinder leaking. You've got almost no freaking oil in it. There's no hydraulic fluid. There's no transmission fluid. This is shot, that's shot. I can get it all done. It's going to cost about this. And the owner's like, well, hell yeah, man. Let's do it. I had no idea it was like that. Created more work. So you can turn a $200 oil change into a $2,000 ticket and stay on one job. So I'm gonna get the battery installed real quick and we'll see if she starts. All right, got the battery in, and it's not the greatest setup. I've seen this, it's kind of redneck at best, Southern engineered. I'll just show you. Now it's got two different battery cables. This tells me that somebody's replaced the cables at one time. Probably, I don't know if this used to be a top post and then they only had side post battery cables, but you've got a side post battery cable and a side post battery cable, and it's not designed to have two of them in one. So I cut the rings off the negative side, put some bolts and a washer in, and yeah, just a temporary setup. And if it gets running and everything's good for testing, then I'll come back and I'll probably replace the ends of the cables with marine style, or put them all in a clamp style. I prefer the marine style batteries myself because they just work better. They're easy to put the terminals on, but it's to each their own. So I will come back and fix that after we get everything tested. Now, a couple of things I have seen already. I can't tell if the master cylinder itself, just the reservoir is leaking, or it's leaking down there, down by the fittings, maybe a hydro boost, not sure, but we do have fluid in it. Let's hop in. Spent most of my childhood in a short bus. Suddenly makes sense now. As soon as I turn this on, it's gonna have a buzzer. The buzzer's loud. That's one amazing thing about diesels. Diesels can sit for years and years and years. I've seen videos like Diesel Creek, and there's some guys on, I think they're on YouTube and they're on TikTok, called Hamilton Farms. They go around and they find old pieces of equipment and start it up, and they'll have the same diesel in the fuel tank for 40 years and it'll fire right up. So it fired up, it started. Now something I like to do, as soon as it actually fires up, I will shut it down, check all the fluid levels again, give it a once over, make sure we're not puking freaking fluid out. Because that happens sometimes. You get old hoses, old seals, it gets moved for the first time in a long time, and then it just pukes all the fluid out. So I'm gonna go ahead and top off the brake fluid, check over all the fluids. I know the coolant is a little bit low. I'm gonna add some coolant to it, and then we're gonna start it up and see if it'll go into gear. Now, before it goes into gear, I like to let it sit there and get completely to operating temperature. That way, if there's any flash rust, any kind of rust at all and anything, break all that stuff up. Hopefully, like especially the transmission, nothing will get stuck, and we don't want that in there. And it's a diesel. So I'm gonna put some of that final charge. I always go for the 50-50 pre-diluted, because when you buy it pre-diluted, it comes with distilled water, not just regular tap water, so there's no calcium or anything in it. And it is cheaper just to buy the concentrate and mix it up when you're in a service truck. No. See if I can do this one-handed. I cannot. And that took about a gallon. let's look underneath. Anything dripping? I don't see anything. Let me check our fluid levels again, and then we'll fire it back up. All right, coolant's full, oil's full, transmission fluid's full. Now we're gonna start it up, let it idle for a little bit. I'm gonna check my hydro boost real quick again. That looks good. I'm gonna start it up, let it idle, let it warm up, and watch it to make sure nothing starts leaking out the front. Once it gets good and warm, then we'll put it in reverse first, let it try to back up a little bit, then we'll put it in drive, let it roll forward a little bit, and then I'm gonna pull it up to the top of the hill on some gravel because we need to take off the rear wheels, at least crawl underneath it and see what's going on with the brakes. Might be as easy as just adjusting them, but might be brand new discs, probably drums in the back, shoes, all that kind of stuff. We'll find out. Check it out, all the lights work. Ooh. Even this guy flung out. Well, we got one blinker out, neither one of the headlights working low beam. Clearance light out, so it's probably something to do with the fuse or something like that. None of those lights are working. Not overly concerned with the lights for now. It'll definitely need to be fixed. All right, let's rev it up. There's a buzzing sound coming from this and there, and that's freaking annoying. I don't know what that is. Is it a door buzzer, safety buzzer or something? Whatever it is, I hate it. But I did find something. Check this out. The 1995. Shut it off. I'm gonna check the fluids one more time, just to be safe. I'm also gonna go around and air up all the tires because they're a little bit low. That'll help it roll a little easier, and then drop it to the top of the hill. Couldn't have picked a better compressor to put on the back of this truck. VMAX starts every time. V10 starts every time. Well, now the true test. Will it go in reverse and drive? Now, one other tip I would like to give you guys for starting something and working on a vehicle that's been sitting for a very long time, especially in a grassy area like this. Be mindful of spiders and snakes and varmints up underneath the vehicle. They like to make homes and nests all over the place. I didn't do it this time because I just completely forgot about it, but usually I will get my air blower off my truck, hook it up to the air line, start the compressor, and just blow a crap ton of air over everything. All over the engine. One, it dusts the engine off, hopefully knocks some dirt and stuff off, so it makes it a little easier to work on and see, and then go up underneath it, and all the noise and racket and everything will usually scare off anything. It'll scare off snakes, it'll scare off varmints, things that are going to sting you and bite you. Now, it won't scare off spiders, but generally, you know, it's kind of hit or miss with spiders anyway. So, I'm going to start this sucker up and see if we got drive. Got to turn the air conditioning on. Yeah. Hey, the buzzing stopped. That's cool. Got steering. Apply brake to shift from park. Smash it. All right, reverse. And drive. Well, she's locked up. You rock her back and forth here and see if we can't get it unlocktified. There it goes. Yeah! I love it when a plan comes together. Brakes are definitely locked up. Hey, you got a truck? Not happy with you. You guys know what they call this, right? It's a 465 air conditioning, 4 windows open, a 65 mile. Ice cold, baby. Oh, I locked it. All right, so now I'm gonna crawl up underneath this fella, get up underneath there, put my tarp down so I don't get all dirty, and try to eyeball the brakes and see exactly what we got going on with them. It feels like the park brake is set, or they're adjusted way too tight. Oh, and somebody busted out their window for them. That's nice of them. Okay, I'm underneath the bus, and I looked through the little adjuster window and immediately saw a problem. So let me see if I can get it on film, and I'll show you guys. Those of you familiar with rear park brakes, park brake shoes, are going to see something pretty quickly. Let's see if I can. It's going to be really hard for me to try to finagle it in there. That piece of thread is the bottom adjuster. And you see how you can see about an inch of threads sticking out of that dude? That means that adjuster has been adjusted all the way out, completely. More than likely the shoes are worn out, or the adjuster itself has got a problem. I'm going to take a screwdriver in there. I'm going to back it off so I can work on it and get the drum off. But I need to go ahead and jack this fella up, take both wheels, all 4 wheels, tires, and drums off the rear axle so we can get in and see what we got. Then I need to figure out parts. Now it's probably just going to be some van parts and be readily available at the local O'Reilly's Napa AutoZone part store, so should be good to go. Now, while I'm underneath here, I'm going to go ahead and bleed the brakes, flush brand new fluid all the way through it. We're probably going to have to put another master cylinder on it. That master cylinder looks kind of questionable. I don't know if the master cylinder is bad or not, but it's got brake fluid leaking all over it. And then there's a couple of other leaks up front that we need to take care of. But let me get my jack underneath here. We'll jack it up, not jack it off, and then pull the wheels and tires. All right, I got that brake adjuster, slack adjuster. Slack adjuster is probably not the right term, but anyway, brake adjuster adjusted back all the way. I didn't film it because when I pull the drum off, I'll show you guys what I was doing. I've got my little jack under here, and if you guys are doing field service, you got to get one of these jacks. So I bought this one from Harbor Freight. They sell them on Amazon for, I think, actually a little cheaper. Now the advantage of Harbor Freight is if it breaks and you got a warranty, you can just take it back. But it's just an air over hydraulic jack, 20-ton jack, and I've had this dude for years. And it's bleeding down because it's not tight. Yeah, it's just loose. I have no idea where the handle's at. Now it's on gravel. It's probably not the best of ideas, but I'm not too concerned about it. Be better if I had a really thick board or a piece of concrete or something underneath it, but when you work in the field, beggars can't be choosers. Something else, you see how the wheel chalked? I've got a chalk in front of it too. Make damn sure you got the front wheel chalk, because there's plenty of videos of guys crawling underneath the truck, disconnecting the drive shaft or pulling something loose, and then the vehicle rolling with them underneath it. That's not fun. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out, do you see how scratched up that ram is? That dude is scratched to hell, and it still seals. If you guys want to buy one, look down in the description, and I'll have a Amazon version of the same exact one. But if you have a Harbor Freight in your area, I highly recommend buying one. Oh shoot! Knelt on a rock. Buying one from your local Harbor Freight, getting a extended warranty on it, a 3-year warranty, and then having it on it. I've never had to replace that one. It's just worked fantastic. All right, I got the slack adjusters, brake adjusters, backed all the way off. This one over here was frozen, so I had to use a little chisel and a hammer. It took forever, but I finally got it. I sprayed some knocker loose on there. If you guys have never used that, you need to get you some. There'll be a link down in the description, of course. And CRC is a sponsor of mine. They send me this stuff. I use it. I love it. Used it for a long time, even before I made YouTube videos. But the axle, I got everything. Got the tires and wheels off, got the adjusters on. Now these are full floating axles, so you actually have to pull the axles out, pull the bearings and the nut, the jam nut, lock nut, all pull the bearings out, and then it all comes out as one unit. And then the brake drum itself is bolt it in from the other side. So we need to take the hub and this off. Now hopefully I actually have the right size socket on hand. If not, I'll have to go get one. But once you pull all these out, all you got to do to break it loose, make sure that you've got a pan. And you can actually take these off without taking the wheels and tires off. You don't have to take the lug nuts off. All you got to do is pull the axle, pull the nut, and the entire assembly comes off. Now, if it's an 18-wheeler and I got a dolly, I do it that way. If I don't have a dolly, then I don't do it that way. I just take them off. It doesn't take that much time. So, trick to getting the axle to come out. All you do, take a sledgehammer, and there you go. And I just got a keeper ring in there. That'll be a real easy nut to pull off. And all you got to do is pull this little lock ring out. Make sure you set it somewhere where you won't remember where it's at. Pull. Oh, you haven't be able to use a pick or not. Pull your keyway out. And then your nut should come undone. Now remember, the other side is going to be lefty, tighty, righty, loosey. At least some of them are. There. Now all we got to do is pull that whole hub off. Alright, now we got everything off. We actually have plenty of brake shoe material, surprisingly. There's a lot of corrosion for some reason. I see a bunch of rust. It's going to be a lot easier just get a brake hardware kit. It'll come with all of these little springs. I need to check to see. I think the wheel cylinders are going to be okay. Not sure. No, wheel cylinders toast. No, it's leaking right there. So we need wheel cylinders. It's generally a good idea to go ahead and replace them when you're back here anyway. So set of brake shoes, hardware kit, 2 wheel cylinders, 2 drums, an inner wheel seal right there. I need to check the bearings, make sure the bearings are okay. We might just pop some new bearings in it anyway, just because we're here. And that'll be good to go. Now, what I was doing earlier is you can see that hole right there where my finger is. You stick a screwdriver through that hole like that, and then you pry up and down on that little star wheel, and that moves that adjuster in and out, which opens or closes that. Now if this doesn't move, spray it down with whatever your favorite penetrating lube is. I use Knocker Loose. Take you a little chisel, and on the other side stick the chisel on the bottom part and then tap it with a hammer. But tap it on the bottom and then tap it on top and just rock it back and forth. And every time you get a little movement out of it, spray a little more lube in there. And just work it back and forth, and eventually it'll come out. Now, if you're in the south and working on stuff from the south, then yeah, it'll come out. You guys up north that deal with the rust belt, I don't know what you do to get those off. Cut and torch or something. But we don't have to deal with that. So I'm just going to leave everything on here. I'm not going to take it all apart just because I like to have a visual reference, and when I have it on hand, I can look at it and I can put it all back together really quick. Another word of advice is only do one side at a time so you have a reference on the other side. When I first time I ever did these, I worked at Midas, and I went ahead and disassembled the whole rear of a Chevy pickup, and I could not get the back of it together. It took me about 4 hours, and the other mechanics thought it was funny, kind of a rite of passage. Even what I know today, I still think that's kind of a dick move. If you guys are in a shop and there's another guy you see struggling, and you know you could go over there and give him a hand, teach him real quick. Let him struggle for 30 minutes to an hour, but watching another mechanic sit there and struggle for hours and hours and hours while you sit back and do nothing, doesn't sit with me very well. Anyway, I'm gonna get the other side disassembled, call about parts, and see if we can get parts today. So we need to get this hub off of this drum. Some of them are bolted in the back on Fords. This one's not. All you do is you can use a air hammer if you want to tap them out. I just like to use a sledge. All right, I got everything taken apart, and what we ended up with is going to be a really, really bright day, but we're going to get wheel seals, new shoes, new wheel cylinders, new hardware kit. I think the brake drums are going to be fine. I don't even know if we need to get them cleaned up. They feel like they're good. I took all the wheel bearings out, looked at the races and everything. I think I can just put those back in. We might replace them, might not. I am going to replace the adjusters because this one on this side was pretty tight. The adjuster on the other side is extremely tight. I had to take a chisel to it, and that's no good. So that little star wheel is messed up. All my parts sitting in the back, ready to go. Only other thing that it needed is the headlights don't work. The master cylinder's got a little bit of leaks. We're gonna do a master cylinder on them. We're gonna get the headlights working. Then I need to check the AC, make sure the AC works. Oil cooler lines on the engine need to be swapped out because they're leaking a little bit, and valve cover gasket. So it'll be about a day's worth of work. The rear hubs, shoes, and all that should take about 2 hours to put back on, 2.5 hours. The headlights problem shouldn't take that long. It's usually kind of something easy most of the time. I already took the headlight switch out, and the headlight switch wasn't it. I took it out, tested it, cleaned it up, put it back in, and got voltage to the switch, and I don't want to got voltage coming out of the switch, so got to figure out where it's going to and where it's dropping off at. But stay tuned for finishing this guy. I need to go home, get some parts ordered, and then when I get all the parts ordered, come back. If you like the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Tell your own stories about working on school buses down there. I want to know if you guys used to be a school bus mechanic, if y'all recognize this kind of van, or got any tips and tricks about that 6.5. I'm not really familiar with that 6.5 diesel, so if you guys got some, hey, look for this, look for that, there are common problems with this, let me know. Appreciate it, and get out and fix it.